Hi, it's Grandma, and I'm reading Dave at Night, chapter 28. Now remember, it's Visitors' Day at the HHB. Dave, why weren't you downstairs waiting for your grandpa? Mr. Meltzer sounded sickeningly friendly. It's about time I came, isn't it, boy chick? While Mr. Meltzer watched with a dopey grin, Solly put the bag down on my bed and held out his arms for a hug. Grandpa! Sally hugged me while thumping me on the back. It gave rhythm to the hug. He smelled of soap and onions. So this is what an HHB looks like in the daytime. He turns to Mr. Meltzer. Tell me, mister, why is it always so cold in here? Icicles are forming on my nose. Mr. Meltzer looked embarrassed. The furnace is old, and Mr. Bloom, the superintendent, believes the cold toughens the boys. You'll have to take it up with him. Excuse me, I have to go. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Gruber. Go, I didn't come to see you. Mr. Meltzer smiled at us and left. Did you smear him again? I asked. Not this time, but he wants to stay on my good side. Where's Bandit? Oh, he's home. I gave him the afternoon off. Sally opened the bag, took out a smaller bag. I can't stay long. The all right Nicks are expecting me. He opened the bag and peeked inside. I never bring Bandit to their house. They say he's dirty. He held one out the bag. Do you like pistachios? I took one just to see if they were any good. The 11s started to gather. They must have guessed who Sally was. He held the bag out to Eli. No, thank you. Sally reached into the big bag again. You like peanuts? We saved everything for tonight, Eli said. Put it in your suitcase, buddy. You don't want Mr. Bloom to catch you with food. Sally slipped the small bag into the big one and gave it to me. It was nice and heavy. I put it in the suitcase. He pulled out the cards. Davila, you want to tell your friends fortunes? I shuffled the cards. Tell for you your fortune, a quarter a card. I heard gasp. Oh, free for buddies. Learn what the future holds. Who wants his fortune told? I looked around. Eli was smiling, but most of them looked serious. A lot of boys raised their hands. I picked Danny, who sat in front of me in Mr. Cluck's class. A wise choice, Sally said. I can tell from the shape of your face that you have an interesting fortune. Who'll cut the cards? I said. Eli, good. Eli knocked on the cards with his knuckles, meaning he didn't need to cut. Thank you. I turned a card over on my bed. The 2 of clubs. I whistled. Mazel, Sally said. That means congratulations. Clubs are lucky. You will only stay in the HHB for another 2 years. I turned over another card, the 9 of diamonds. Sally gasped loudly. Diamonds stand for riches. I wish I knew more about Danny. In 2 years, your long-lost uncle, I turned over a card, your long-lost uncle Max, who's a jack of all, I don't have any uncles. No uncles. Sally moaned. If he was trying to help, he wasn't. He isn't really your uncle. He's a friend of your family. You call him uncle. He will die and leave you $9,000. By now, Danny was grinning, and so were the rest of my buddies. I turned over another card, the 8 of hearts. You will leave New York by boat and travel to 8 countries. Then, out of nowhere, I had an idea about how to Ganef Mo and stop him and the other bullies from stealing our food. I'd tell everybody about it after visiting day was over. What a terrific idea. I went on. You will stay in the 8th country, Sheba. You will marry the princess and have 5 children. That is your fortune. The cards have spoken. Does anybody else want their fortune told? I told 3 more fortunes, Bernie's, Lewis's, and Reuben's, and then Mr. Doom walked in. How are my good boys? He boomed. I slipped the cards into Sally's pocket. I didn't know Mr. Doom's opinion about card playing, and I didn't want to find out. We all chimed, fine, sir, good, sir, very good, sir, excellent, sir. Joey's father or uncle, or whoever he was, said, Mr. Bloom, I can't thank you enough for taking Joey. He held out his hands, and kept turning the brim. I thought he was going to cry. I don't know what would have happened to him without this asylum. That's why we're here for, to give these boys a happy home. Am I right? Yes, sir. Joey's face was bright red. Sally frowned. Don't let him say anything, I prayed. Don't let him be a gonif with Mr. Doom. The old lady with the twins said, excuse me, excuse me. She waved her cane at Mr. Doom. Fred said in a low voice, which I could hear because of the silence, it's all right, Grandma, we get plenty to eat. She ignored them. Mr. Jeffrey and Frederick are skin and bones. Are you feeding these boys? They're so... What have you had for lunch today, boys? Stew, sir, said Jeff and Fred chanted. And what was in the stew? Meat, sir, and potatoes, sir. Did you have enough to eat? Yes, sir. Madam, these are active boys. We have a superlative program of physical exercise here at the HHB. Our boys get healthy food and lots of it. I was active too as a boy, and I couldn't keep flesh on my bones either, he rumbled. I think he was chuckling. And see how big and strong I am now? The rumble stopped. But I'll tell you what. These youngsters will share my dinner tonight. How does that sound, madam? The twins' grandma smelled a rat. You don't have to do that, mister. All they need is enough to eat. And tonight, I'll make sure they get it. Good afternoon, madam. He left. Poor Jeff and Fred. So, Boychik, your superintendent is a paskudnik. And now, we may not know what the word means, but he kind of explains it using another Yiddish word, a no-goodnik. I nodded. I liked the word. A real paskudnik. Paskudnik. I have to go, Davila. I'll tell Bandit you're in good health. He patted me on my head and left. I went back to my letter. Every Sunday there's a chess tournament. I stopped writing. It was crazy. Mr. Doom was supposed to take care of all of us. Mr. Meltzer was supposed to take care of the Levins. Mr. Kleck was supposed to teach us. None of them did what he was supposed to do. When Papa died, Ida was supposed to take care of me, or one of the relatives should have. But Sally wasn't supposed to do anything. When he saw me grab that dollar outside the rent party, he could have ignored me and gone inside, or he could have taken the money for himself, but he'd taken care of me instead, in a Ganef kind of way. He'd even spent a lot of money on me. It was crazy. This is your lucky day, Dave. It was Mr. Meltzer again. I looked up and there were Aunt Lily and Aunt Sarah. First, your Aunt Sarah, Aunt Lily, I yelled so they wouldn't hear him say Grandpa. Nobody comes for weeks, and now I'm up to my eyeballs in real relatives and fake ones. They looked surprised that I was so glad to see them. They hugged me. Let me look at you, Aunt Lily said. She was carrying a brown paper bag, not as big as Sally's. You look healthy. She saw Mr. Meltzer standing nearby, smiling goofily. What are you waiting for? He stopped smiling. Nothing. And he left. He was hoping you'd give him some money, I said. Well, he should be ashamed, Aunt Sarah said, taking money from poor people. Well, we would have come sooner, Aunt Lily said, but we've been busy. Fanny is worse. Aunt Fanny had bad arthritis. That's okay, I said. I wasn't expecting anybody. Aunt Sarah turned a little red. I don't know how many times I thought about you. I'm always saying, Lily, how do you think Dave is? Aren't I, Lily? She nodded. We got 3 nice long letters from Gideon. Oh, Gideon the good. He says you don't write to him, Sarah said. You should write your brother. He worries about you. He loves you. Aunt Lily looked around. Nice room, so big, nice windows. I wish we had windows like this, don't you, Sarah? Aunt Sarah nodded. It's like a palace. She rubbed her hands together for warmth. And it's not overheated. That's good. You can get pneumonia living in an overheated place. I bet you get meat every day, Aunt Lily said. I shrugged. Meat gristle every day. Aunt Lily went on, and Aunt Sarah interrupted, and you never have to stand in line to go to the toilet. There must be indoor showers with hot. They went on praising the HHB, convincing themselves it was a swell place. I thought of telling them about Mr. Doom and Papa's carving and the food stealing and Mr. Cluck, but I didn't. I didn't need Aunt Sarah and Aunt Lily when I had Irma Lee's basement. Here, Dave. Aunt Lily held the bag out to me. I peeked inside. 2 apples and a dozen or so of Aunt Sarah's butter cookies. My mouth watered, but I didn't eat anything. Thanks, I'll put it away. We all share tonight. I opened my suitcase just enough to get the bag in so they wouldn't see Sally's bag. Thanks for coming. I sounded like Gideon. You sound so grown up, Aunt Lily said. I sent a letter to your Uncle Jack, Aunt Sarah said. I told him he should take you. I told him it was terrible to break up a family. But now that I see how nice it is here. What do you do all day? Aunt Lily asked. I left out the bad stuff, so there wasn't much to say. Then I thought of Mr. Hillinger, and I told them about him and the gesture drawing lesson. They laughed at the idea of his sister standing on a desk to pose. They told me that Cousin Melvin had found a job as a clerk, and Ida was sewing in a dress factory and boarding with a family on Rivington Street. Then they ran out of things to say, too. We looked at each other for a few seconds. Then I said, thanks again for the food. And Aunt Lily said they had to leave. We have to cook supper. They hugged me again. Be good, Aunt Sarah said. Don't get in trouble. Right. Well, that was a pleasant chapter, sort of. I'm a little worried about the twins and what Mr. Doom is going to do to them after their grandmother complained, but hopefully the 2 of them can help each other. Anyway, it was interesting that the reflection that Dave made about the people who were supposed to take care of him weren't. And Sally, that he had no connection to at all, was taking care of him so well. And I think that we all hope that when we feel like we don't have anybody to turn to, that there's someone in our lives that we can talk to and who will help us. Bye-bye.